Hey, what's up, guys? It's Stormy here, back with the Superverse Podcast. Today, like always, again, I'm joined by Landon from the Twitch channel Boulder Doobies. Landon, I hope you had a great week this week.
Yeah, it was fun. Good holiday week for me.
Yeah, I know because, like, over here in Europe, we don't celebrate Thanksgiving. I know that you guys celebrate Thanksgiving really big. How was your Thanksgiving, man?
It was wonderful. I had wonderful turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, all the fixins, of course. And then my girlfriend made a cherry pie.
Oh man, I'm
So,
I'm getting water in my mouth thinking about it. Uh, Landon, big week last week. This week was a big week, man. The Disney Plus release of Hawkeye, first two episodes. I must admit, I didn't expect that I was going to like these two first episodes that much. From everywhere that we got the news that a Hawkeye show was happening, I was always like, Hawkeye it really isn't my favorite character in the MCU. I don't know how to feel about a show about him, but then we got the news that this show would introduce the new Hawkeye, Kate Bishop. Very cool Marvel character. And this first two episodes have been like really good on her character. I really wasn't expecting it really to be a Kate Bishop centric show, because that's basically what it is. Like, there's like 10% Clint and 90% Kate, man. And I think that's for the better. Landon, what is your opinion on that?
I agree with you. Um, I am interested to see more of like Clint be between Infinity War and Endgame, where he is Ronin, or even some more flashbacks, like more of his story,
Mm-hmm.
like kind of how we're getting Kate's story, like her origin. Because we kind of just get thrown into Hawkeye's story, right? He joins us in Avengers. We see him in Thor. We see him in some other movies, but we don't think much of him, other than he's really good with a bow and arrow, and kind of creative. So it is good to see that it's Kate focused from the very beginning, but I did struggle with some of the beginning parts of the first episode where it was kind of like giving us her story to some degree. I just feel like it started too slow, and then the pace kind of never felt right after that. For that episode in particular, I mean, one was good, two was better in my opinion.
I agree. I agree.
Um, One was good, and I just feel like the pacing was off. Like if some scenes happened in different orders, or like certain things took place beforehand and we had context of it, it could have been a lot smoother of an episode. It just felt very kind of
Definitely had a
broken.
couple of pacing problems. I
Yeah.
get that.
So, but yeah, it was fun. I mean, Kate's awesome, right? Haley, is it Haley Steinfeld?
Yeah, Haley
She's
Steinfeld does an amazing job.
absolutely crushes it as Kate Bishop, and she pulls off like the total comic look. And I love the intro with
Mm-hmm.
like the comic,
Oh,
kind of
perfect.
aspect to it. Really fun. So it's been a good start. I am intrigued to see where the story goes city wise, because I believe, and I could be wrong, this is the latest. This is like the latest we've been in the MCU. This is December 2024.
Yep.
So we're getting very close. Spider-Man is supposed to happen before this, but around this time period. So like we're somewhere we've never been before with we don't know what else is connecting and happening around us. And I think that's kind of the fun part of
Mm-hmm.
these Disney Plus series is because they're ripe filled for cameos and opportunities to kind of mesh some plot lines as we go forward. And I think that Hawkeye's just the beginning as we move into 2022. But I can't say enough good things about episode two. So
I really can't wait to see where these later episodes go to. Um, I want to talk about some of the characters in it, man. Some of the new characters. Um,
Hmm.
did you read the Matt Fraction run of Hawkeye?
I did
You
not.
did
No, I
not.
need to though. I
Uh,
need to now.
yeah, you definitely need to, because in my opinion, Matt Fraction's Hawkeye is top five of comic book stories to me.
All
Um,
right.
you should definitely check it out. But what I was meaning to say about it is, so in the comic, um, Kate's father uh, is the one who's like the really rich businessman, and her mother is the one who so-called dies in the comics, but she later
Mm.
comes back with a new personality. So it seems that in this show they changed it up, and another cool change up that they did is that Eleanor, her mother, basically is a combination of the mother from the comics, Eleanor, and her sister. Because Kate has a sister in the comics, and she's basically like this bitch character. She's really unlikable, and I think they like they combined those two characters into one character with the mother, and her mother is really, really, really shady in this show. I don't trust
And
her.
Vera Farmiga is crushing the role so far.
Vera
That's
Farmiga
for
is
sure.
crushing the role, and here's the one thing that Vera Farmiga is a very good actress, but every
Villainous.
role that she has been playing so
Menacing.
far is really unlikable. So I think she's really good at playing unlikable characters, in my opinion.
She is. I agree with you. She is very good at that role, and she fits the bill very well. And I think there's a couple possibilities for who she ends up being if she is someone from the comic universe outside of just Kate's mom.
I hope if I had to guess, I think she will be a amalgamation version of Madame Mask and Eleanor.
What I'm
Uh,
thinking, yeah, something along those lines.
because like Madame Mask is like the biggest character from the Mad Fraction villains, you know, she would just make sense. As far of Jack, swordsman, from the comics, Jack Duquesne, I really think they are misguiding us with this character because like
Mhm.
after the second episodes, everyone besides us comic fans, everyone is thinking, oh, Jack must have killed Armand, and Jack is the really overarching villain of this series. I'm going to make a guess that they are really, really, really misguiding us with this, and that Jack will be more of a U.S. agent situation where he is looked at as a villain, but towards the end of the show,
Mhm.
he's probably going to turn on Eleanor.
Having not read the comics, I still think like I see Jack as a threat, I guess, in my perspective, because of how episode two ended. But I don't necessarily believe that he's the one that killed Armand. I know there was like the whole butterscotch thing and kind of that lead into it. Like I said, I feel like it's so much of a setup. But coming from someone who has not read the comic run at all and has no clue what happens, I still think that Echo is the bigger threat at this moment
Mm-hmm.
than what Jack seems like. Jack is almost like a threat just to Kate
Yep.
because of his connection with her mother. But I don't feel like he's a larger threat. So it's kind of like Kate has multiple threats, right, happening around her, and I feel like Jack is just one of them. Where if you look at like the larger villain of the overall series, I feel like it's going to be somebody different, and I feel like Echo is going to kind of lead us down that path.
One thing that I'm very interested to see in this show is if the Ronin personality continues. Uh, I at this point have three guesses. Guess one is that Clint, after this show ends, admits Kate Bishop is the new Hawkeye. I'm going back to my Ronin personality. The other two guesses that I have, I'm going to start one. I think maybe they will have Jack become Ronin because he got the sword. He stole the swords. Maybe here's the third guess, and that's to the tease at the end of episode 2, because Echo once was Ronin in the comics also. Those are my three guesses right now. Do you
You
have a thought
know,
on that?
I think Clint wants out hard. So I don't see him taking up the Ronin mantle unless somebody specifically asked him to. I think all he's trying to do is make sure that no one takes up the mantle, and I believe that that could be a lot of the storyline that plays out because he needs to find out who has the sword now. Now that he has the costume.
I'm going to make a wild, wild, wild guess right now. This entire series, Christmas show, Christmas aesthetic, happy, 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 hey. What if someone in Hawkeye's family gets killed by, I don't know, a certain villain in this show? And
I don't think.
maybe Clint really goes dark side after this again, and really will be like, hey man, Ronan is my new personality.
I mean, I don't disagree that something could trigger him to go that way. I just feel like based on everything that they're showing and that the traumatic experience he had to go through and everything that he's now dealing with, I like the darker side of it, but I also think that he knows he needs to get out. He knows he needs to stop, and I think he's trying to. And I think he's his kind of the next couple episodes are going to show him kind of turning to believe like, okay, maybe I can really teach Kate to be,
Mm-hmm.
my replacement, to be the next me, and I can then go live the life I want to with my family. Because I feel like you can see the stress on like his kid's face and like especially his daughter and um his wife. That conversation was really cryptic, and it's almost like she knew what was going on the whole time,
Uh-huh.
and then still sent her kids there. So like, I don't know. It's just super weird, the way this whole series picked up, where we picked up, how it started, and all the details we got at the very beginning. It just seemed like really forward for us to not have any information about what's going on, unless of course it seems like you read the comics. So I'm still kind of trying to
I really have a
understand
big. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
her point of view. No, you're good. I'll say that's it. That's all I want to say. Like her, why? What does she know? What does Clint's wife know? Why did she send her kids there? Like, other than just Christmas in New York, like, and Clint being in New York, what is the reason that they went there? Like, really justify it to me. Because if it was just tickets to go see Rogers the musical, I don't think any of them go. Maybe that's just me. I feel like he'd rather be on his farm with his family, wherever he's at, compared to New York City.
I'm going to say one thing. Wilson Fisk.
I don't disagree. And again, I think that's where it's leading. I'm just show us more,
Yeah, yeah.
tease us, drop something in there, because like my favorite part of the first two episodes was
Bro. Yeah, bro,
bro,
man. Yeah, bro. Yeah.
founder, bro.
Yeah, that was such a funny scene, man.
I freaking
I
loved
think the
it.
biggest hint, here's the thing. I think the biggest hint towards Wilson Fisk has already been laid in the groundwork of
I
this
don't
show.
disagree.
Because do you have a feeling what I'm talking about?
I do, yeah.
Oh, all right, what?
I mean, from it's it's
I'm
the
not talking about
auction.
Echo. I'm not talking
Yeah,
about the
I'm not talking about Echo
auction.
either. I'm talking about the auction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about where and how those things were collected. Who was actually running the auction at a charity event? Seems very weird. Um, Clearly, it wasn't Jack, Armand, or Eleanor, because they were invited. It seemed not necessarily the ones running it. So it seems like Wilson Fisk is behind that. If
Yep.
you're going to put him anywhere, that is where I put him. Otherwise, the only other place I could see the connection being is just through the tracksuit mafia and just it being a larger connection to him as kind of the one above all within the city
Crime.
level
Yep.
villains.
There
So,
there actually were three big hints. So first off, when Armand and Eleanor are arguing,
oh yeah.
Armand says, "I have friends in the city. You don't want to get on their bad sides." Now
Hmm.
that doesn't really necessarily hint at Wilson Fisk, but it's definitely me as a comic fan definitely admits that could be a hint if
Yeah.
he shows up down the line.
Hmm.
Second, the charity event was filmed at the same place that Wilson Fisk in season 3 lives in Daredevil.
Yeah, I
Here's the
haven't watched
third
that
and the
forever.
biggest hint of all. There is a reason why they are not showing us Avengers Tower. The reformed
Mhm.
Avengers Tower. There is a reason, and it will be revealed in the series. Because this show takes place in New York, you know. If it wouldn't have
Mhm.
been anything with Wilson Fisk, anything about that, like something of that tower is like, how do you have to say it? Is relevant to this series? They would have just shown Avengers Tower in a random
Yeah.
shot. They would have just done it. My guess is that Wilson Fisk bought the tower.
Unless they're trying to save it for Spider-Man. Unless we don't see it at all.
Here's the thing. Wilson
Because
Fisk has connections to
we
Spider-Man.
already know who is coming back and who could be a potential candidate for Avengers Tower. Osborn.
Uh,
I'm just saying he'd be a candidate. I'm not saying he'd be the only one, right? There's a lot of opportunities out there. There's a lot of potential out there, right? You could get a Fantastic Four. You get the Baxter Building. You could get something along the lines of Blue Marvel. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities for who could take that building.
we are going to bet on it. If
And
I
I think
win,
that
if I
okay.
say Wilson Fisk, you say Norman Osborn. If
Sure.
I'm right, you're buying me a comic. If you're right, I'm buying you a comic.
Cool.
All right, cool. We're going to do that.
Sounds good.
One last thing about the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye that I want to talk about. The Echo tease at the end. Maya Lopez coming in that scene. To be honest, really lackluster in my opinion. She does a hand like shake, and that's basically everything that we got. I wanted her to come in to the series really more like badass. I think this was a little lackluster. What was your
Feel
opinion
like
on that scene?
so all they had to do was not show her face.
Mm-hmm.
In that last scene, if they just had that guy walk up to the room and try to communicate to her, and then just have it go black there, and then open up with her, and more interaction with her, changes the whole ending to that episode. Because you don't get her reveal. You anticipate it. It's red. You've heard her or she dropped a few times, so you know they're talking about a female. And based on everything that's happening with how Kate's mom is acting, you at that moment believe it could actually be her. Right? It could be Eleanor.
Yeah, true.
So the Echo reveal almost ruins her initial purpose or the beginning of her interaction. Now they could do something crazy with her in the next episode, and we would just be like, we were dumb.
Yeah.
We don't care. She's awesome. But I still feel like the reveal could have come next episode.
True.
And I don't know why they needed to have that hook, because the hook only sits deeper if you don't reveal her face or who she is. You just let her sit there in that red room and reveal her maybe at the beginning of the next episode or halfway in the next episode. You come back to that scene and reveal her, and then show more of her plot and kind of who she is and what she's trying to do. Because
I mean, like,
again, the pacing seems really broken in these episodes, and we said this probably about WandaVision, and definitely about What If. It just seems like things are off, and
True.
it can be rectified with proper understanding context for what's happening within the episode and future episodes. It's just, well, at this point right now, it seems like it's very hectic. There's not a lot of direction, and it's kind of like a freeform. Here's Hawkeye and Kate.
Yep. I completely agree. As much as I liked it, it's still like, and this is something that I've been having with all the series of Marvel Studios so far, to be honest. It really seems that they aren't quite at the level of like making the best TV shows yet, because they are still new to it. They are still getting into it.
Yeah.
I really believe that Hawkeye is already better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision, in my opinion. Loki was better. Hawkeye is a little better than Loki, in my opinion. Maybe Hawkeye will be like the last stepping stone for like the 2022 shows to really step up their game, where they really start like getting the swing of it, like getting their rhythm into making good TV shows.
Yeah, I think it's just always going to be a struggle for Marvel to do this, and we're always going to feel like something's off because we're used to a story being told across
That's
the two
true.
to 3 hour window. And now we're getting almost the same, if not a longer base of content. So there's more like dangling details or pieces that are just kind of left open at the end of each episode that can be continued as you move forward and all wrapped up nicely at the end, like we saw with Loki, right? There were so many kind of not holes, just opportunities for them to go in many different directions and for anything to be possible with the series. And then you saw the frayed knot become, much tighter as you went along in the season. And I think that it's tough to take the formula of Marvel because it's a very formulaic approach to movies because it works and turn that into a series because we want the detail, but then we struggle with the details that we get and what we don't get because it seems like there's this arbitrary line of like, okay, we're not going to tell you this, but we're going to tell you all of this other crap.
Yep.
So like, why couldn't you tell us like two other things to make all of the other stuff make sense? It didn't need to be this way, right? And it's like they're keeping their cards close to their chest, but we're playing a 5 card game and they're showing us 3 of them.
Yep.
It's really weird how these things play out. And again, I haven't liked or disliked any of the series so far. So I've sat here and said probably the same thing about WandaVision. I know I said the same thing about Loki. And we'll see where Hawkeye goes because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm just a little skeptical right now because I think the pacing needs to figure itself out, and I hope that happens in the next episode.
Yeah, and I think next episode will be the episode where most of the trailers footage happens, like when they are on that train where they
Mhm.
are getting chased in that car. So I think the next episode will be action packed, and to be honest, I can't wait for it. Wednesday
Well,
can't
yeah,
come
and
soon
again,
enough.
we just have to find a balance between like these episodes that are heavy of exposition and flashbacks and meaningful conversation and dialogue and character interaction to like just a straight on roller coaster ride of action, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can't have like 2 episodes of exposition and all this other filler and like setting up these huge action sequences that happen in like 2 episodes and then go back to like exposition and filler, right? And I'm not saying that it's filler, it's just like when you look at how the episode breaks down, if we have a full action episode, it's going to look really weird when you go back to rewatch this of how slow this starts and then how fast it gets
That
near
was
the
my
end because they're telling a story and it's 6 episodes.
that
So
was my
like,
biggest problem with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. After episode 4, where Carly kills Battlestar, what was his
yeah.
name again? Lemore. Like
Mhm.
we got this opening scene in episode 5 where like Sam and Bucky are fighting U.S. agent John Walker, and then the
Mhm.
rest of that episode is just talky, 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 and even the finale was like more talk than like action. So I really, to the love of God, hope that this series captures like the action feel that I've been wanting from
Mhm.
this series. That's until this point really haven't gotten, in my opinion.
I mean, this was the series that was supposed to set it all up, right? And be able to kind of bring that action tone because of who we're watching, what's happening, the story trying to be told. So I don't expect it to let us down. I just think that it's gonna replay or rewatch really odd when you watch the first 2 episodes connected to the
Yep.
last four. It's like when I tried to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier again. I had trouble getting to the episodes where there was actually a lot of action. I had trouble getting later in the season because of how much is there in the beginning that you have to build the story behind. And don't get me wrong, I loved the series when it came out. Still have very high regards for it. But like when we think about how a movie rewatches, you can find points to connect it to, and you can kind of move yourself through the plot with these shows, they're very like really slow, 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 and then all of a sudden you're on a straight vertical
Yep.
rise to like the climax of the show and the whole series. together and kind of the point they're trying to get across through the plot lines that they've built. So something feels off. I don't know what it is, but again, I can't say I've hated anything to the point where I've felt kind of like cheated at the end of it, or like, wow, well that disappointed me.
Yeah,
So
it's still no CW, so
Mhm.
still much better than that. Um,
Very true. And we've gotten, hopefully we get some payoff soon of all this building we've been doing in 2021 to pay off in a movie or two here coming in 2021 or 2022 still. Like I feel like we could get some payoff for Spider-Man. Maybe even the Loki and or the WandaVision stuff could pay off in there.
yep.
Maybe even Falcon and Winter Soldier stuff could pay off in there. And then
Let's
definitely in
hope so.
Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, we should see payoff for at least everything we've seen so far here. And we don't know where Hawkeye sits in this yet. So let's buckle up because I'm sure the next four are going to be crazy.
Totally. Um, should we move into another topic?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Keanu Reeves. So
Mm.
Keanu Reeves is one of these actors that has been like in talks with Marvel Studios for years about multiple roles, but for some reason his schedule has always been like booked and he couldn't do it. Now, last week again he said that like him being in the MCU would be an honor for him, and that he really, really, really would like to play a comic book character in the MCU. Um, if I have to question you, this the question of like which character, no matter is if it's a villain or a hero, an anti-hero, which character do you think is most suited for Keanu Reeves? Because I think Keanu Reeves is one of the most versed actors, in my opinion, who can play multiple things.
Ooh, wow. Um, okay. I got to pick one.
Yeah, you have to.
Gambit.
Gambit. Oh my god. Uh,
Because the obvious one I've heard so many times at this point that I'm just like, if that's not true, it's not true. We'll get somebody else for it. And there's like two other possibilities that I've heard that I'm like, okay, that could be interesting. And I've always thought he'd be a really good Gambit,
mm-hmm.
especially since we got the initial, I guess, introduction of Gambit into like the Fox X-Men universe through the Wolverine movie.
Yep.
And like he that actor did a very good job and he is very similar to Keanu, and I think Keanu could bring like an extra intensity to it that we just didn't get. And I feel like Gambit, if he's paired with the right characters and played off in the correct manner, would be a great character to introduce at the beginning of the mutant saga or at some point soon, like especially if we're going to do the X-Men 97, he should be a part of that team. So it'd be great to take that from animation and just plug it into the MCU as live action. So get all those characters, and I feel like he would crush a
Correct
Gambit
me.
role.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Keanu Reeves Canadian?
I don't know, man. I honestly don't. I feel
I
like
have
I've
to
heard
search it
that
up real
before, but
quick.
I have no clue.
I'm going to search it up real quick because if
'Cause, yeah,
he's
yeah,
if
I
he's
know where you're going with
Canadian,
this.
he should be able to pull off a French accent. Because here's my
Mhm.
thing. Although I think Keanu Reeves could play Gambit, I'm really not sure if he could like because in my opinion Gambit needs a French accent. Rami LeBlanc, he's a Frenchman, so
Mhm.
I'm going to search it up real quick. Is Keanu Reeves Canadian? He is. So
Wow.
I mean, uh, yeah, let's do it. I mean, in my opinion, Johnny Blaze.
Oh, for sure. But that's like the most popular one that's out there, and everyone's like, he's gotta be Ghost
Hey
Rider.
man, look, everyone. I've heard many things for Keanu Reeves, man. I've seen people say Doctor Doom. I've seen people say Namor the Submariner,
I
Nova,
can't see
Richard
name.
Ryder. I mean,
Okay, Nova's a possibility. Hyperion was another one I was thinking. Um,
in my opinion, Nova is not a possibility because Richard Ryder is a younger guy. Doctor Doom, no, I don't see Keanu Reeves as a villain in my opinion.
I
Namor the
could see him
Sub,
as the villain.
in my opinion, nah, you could, but like, I much more rather like
Oh my
Keanu
gosh.
Reeves.
Hold on. Can I super fan cast him for a second right now?
Go ahead.
If this story ever happens, I want it to happen in the MCU. I could see him playing Null, the symbiote god.
Holy, oh my god,
He'd be a
damn!
wicked Null.
I didn't think about that. Oh damn, man, that would actually be a good one. I
Because the cool part is like they could do like they could keep his long hair and even keep it black and then just do that like white chest plate that Null has.
Yep.
And most of it would be CGI because he's like a symbiote god, so that's all he's gonna be doing is. Oh man, yeah, that'd be fun. I like that idea.
Yeah. I'm going to pause the recording real quick if you don't mind.
No,
Yeah, no would be a great fit for him. But I'm gonna just say Ghost Rider, man. He's like because like he's really into motorcycles in real life. I would just love for him to like get that part. Or not even Johnny Blaze, but Danny Ketch would be another great fit too for him.
I mean he's got like the whole aesthetic, right? He does the Matrix. He's done John Wick, and they kind of have similar aesthetics to some of the Ghost Rider vibes that he gives off or could give off there. So I don't disagree with you. He'd be a great Ghost Rider. I mean, I think it's just a matter of him meeting with the right people, finding the right project, having the right timing and
Yep.
availability to get it done at some point, because we know this happens with a lot of actors and or actresses where they express interest in trying to be just in the universe as a whole, trying to be in the MCU or be some comic book character, and then they meet with a creative team or they meet with Feige himself or something happens where they meet with somebody on the creative team from Marvel Studios and they're like, "Yeah, we're working on this project. We think you'd be a great blank." And they're cast. So it happened with Angelina Jolie. She was in talks for a while on a couple different things, almost got cast for a few different projects, and then they found the perfect role for her as Thena in the Eternals, and it paid off. She did a great job.
Did
She
you
absolutely
know?
crushed it.
Did you
So
know that in the early drafts of Eternals, when they were casting, did you know that Angelina Jolie in an earlier draft was going to play Cersei?
I did, yes.
It, to be honest, I couldn't have seen her as Cersei. To be honest,
No, me either.
couldn't.
I think she's too fierce. She's very good at being fierce. And she has that kind of that intenseness on screen, and I think she really did well with Thena.
Mm-hmm. No, but
But yeah,
Going back to Keanu, look, here's the only problem that I have with it. Keanu's already running towards 60 years old. He's 57 at the moment. So if they really want him to play one of these characters and be able to do a few years of him, they need to capitalize on his talent right now, in my opinion. You can't do it in 3 years. To my opinion, you can't even do it in 2 years. You have to start with it like next year or the year after.
I agree. I also think that it depends on him entirely.
Mm-hmm.
He could come in and do like a quick cameo, and that's all he ever wanted to do. He could be in a one movie, or he could sign a multi-year, multi-picture deal type situation. So again, I think it's something that they need to figure out, and if he really wants to be a part of it, he'll contact the right people, and the right people will contact him, and it'll be a thing.
Yeah,
But you're right, it's got to happen sooner. If we're gonna get what we want, and fans don't always get what we want, which could be a reason why he hasn't been cast yet because of his age. So maybe there's something that they're trying to do, and we've talked about this in the past. They're skewing younger and younger and younger constantly for some of these shows and for some of the movies. I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think that we need to be careful, and it depends on who we bring in because I don't want to see someone like. Um, Oh, let's just go with what's her name for Miss Marvel, Iman.
Iman Vellani.
Yeah, I don't want to see her. She's in multiple projects. She's cast for multiple different things. I don't want to see her show flop and then everyone blame the casting on her and have her be a really bad part of it, right? Like there is a risk going with a younger individual who doesn't have as much experience compared to someone like Keanu,
Yep.
who you know what you're getting when he walks through that door. So I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just picking on Miss Marvel only because she's going to be one of our new fresh faces coming here soon. Nothing against her, the character, or female led show. Just picking on new faces because new faces are going to be everywhere soon. I was still a little skeptical of Simu Liu as Shang Chi, but he crushed it in the film. So now I'm not skeptical at all. Right, completely gone. All the skepticism is disappeared. So
As much as I love like obscure actors and like young actors to come into the MCU, and I think they are needed. Like some characters are just not fitting with like older actors and like actors out there. But like you need a couple of veterans in some roles. Some people who
you have to have
yeah
that like foundation of like excellence that's going to be there and push the younger ones, the newer actors and actresses to kind of step up to that level and make it the picture that they want it to be or the show they want it to be, right? That's why like the dynamic with Hawkeye is really cool because you have Jeremy Renner, who I'm not saying he's the best actor or a great actor, but I think that there's this level that Haley Steinfeld is trying to attain because of the other presences there, like Vera Farmiga, and hopefully Vincent D'Onofrio, and hopefully a few other notable people as well. So
mm-hmm.
a lot of fun. But yeah, again, yeah, I've won Keanu since I've found out that they got Fox, and I'm like, okay, cool, let's get Keanu Wolverine in this bitch.
Keanu Wolverine. Ah,
Dude, he's Canadian, man. It works, and he can grow the sideburns. We know that. So
I
again, he's so versatile, and like his facial features fit a lot of different
his
characters.
facial
It,
features would definitely fit. But here's can Keanu buff up? Even if he could, he's too old for that right now.
dude, what if we got like old man Logan situation where like we're gonna bring in like an X-23 and like some of the other Weapon X characters, let's say, and
Fair,
you just need a Wolverine to act like an old raggedy X-Men that's been out there in some other multiverse, whooping ass for the last 50 years.
fair
And
point, fair
I
point.
mean, who are we getting for like Professor X, right? And like who are we getting for Storm and Beast? Do you think they're going to be like 20, 30-year-old kids, or do you think they're going to be, well-established actors? I don't think we're going to get a 20-year-old Professor X. I think we're going to
Oh
get
no,
one in a wheelchair who's bald, who's like 70 years old. So like we have to just be okay with it at some point and understand that these characters aren't always going to be around and that there's so many characters in this Marvel universe that like even if we want these prominent actors to be in it, just them taking one role is them being in it and a part of it, which yes sucks for us because we want them around constantly as a main character, but at the end of the day, if they're a part of it, they're a part of it, and that's all the better.
yep, yeah, that's true. Let's move into some DC now. Um, we got the news that for Wonder Woman 3, Aquaman will play a big role in that movie, and
Hmm.
maybe it's even to the extent where this will be a more of like a Aquaman and Wonder Woman movie, where he's like the co-lead in that movie. Um, I don't know, man, what to think about this. Like after
I'm
seeing,
concerned.
yeah, I'm concerned too because, like, to be honest, I'm not really too how do I have to say it? I'm not too. I can't come up with the word right now. First of all, Wonder Woman 84 was a very bad movie. Second of all, while Aquaman was a cool movie, it lacked on certain things also.
Oh goodness.
I'm just not. I mean, I still can't come up with the word. I'm not.
Okay, so this is after the Aquaman 2 sequel, The Lost Kingdom or whatever.
Yup.
So I don't know. I'm gonna take this with a grain of salt right now. I'm not gonna say it's the greatest thing. I'm not gonna say it's the worst thing. I think that it's far enough out that if they put the right creative minds on the project and Gal Gadot or Gal Gadot, however you say her name, and Jason Momoa reprise the roles, I think this is very promising. I am concerned as to how this is going to connect and what this is going to even mean and or do, because we're in like this weird situation with DC movies at the moment where anything is either connected to like the Zack Snyder universe or it's connected to the Whedon universe. And I don't think anything connected to the Whedon universe right now is going to be doing so hot. So we're really going to potentially see the darker side of DC finally, and I think that's where we could go with not only Black Adam, Aquaman 2, but also Wonder Man or Wonder Woman 3. So like there's this great possibility out there if they connect to the right universe that it would all make sense and it'd play really well. But I'm still concerned that because of who runs DC at the moment, we're in for a world of hurt with the next few projects. The only one that I could see being promising at this point, and I know there's another Shazam movie coming, is Black Adam, and I say that because The Rock just will refuse to be in a bad film. And I'm not
Yep.
saying he's in every great film that's out there, but his films at least hit like 60-70% on most Rotten Tomato scores,
It are
and
fun
he's
movies.
always done a good job acting in them. I'm not saying any like Fast Furious and all that stuff has great acting, and it is what it is, but I don't expect movies with him in it to fail, I guess is how I look at it. There's going to be some like, oh, this is great and this is mediocre, and I feel like it's going to sit more on the mediocre side. But that's really what I expect from DC over the next 2 years is Black Adam to be the best film that comes out of it, and everybody to be like, why are we still talking about Joss Whedon's universe?
My dream scenario. Look, we know that the Flash movie will be a iteration of Flashpoint.
Oh, dude,
In their
don't even
original
start.
in their original plans, it was their plan to have this movie be called Flashpoint. But the movie is called The Flash right now. Here's what if. What if? What if the Flashpoint saga doesn't end with this movie and goes into all these other movies? Aquaman and
I'd like
And
it.
the Lost Kingdom, Wonder Woman 3. I don't know if you read Flashpoint, but
A long time.
which two kingdoms had a war in the Flashpoint storyline? The Amazons and the Atlanteans.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's the. Mhm.
We know that Linda Carter will be back as her version of Wonder Woman in this movie. We know that there are two separate versions of the Flash, the Ezra Miller Flash in the Flash movie. What if there's two versions of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, where one Wonder Woman is the good one, you have Linda Carter's Wonder Woman, and then you have another universe where we are going to visit, where Wonder Woman and Atlantis Aquaman are at war. And all these movies, Wonder Woman 3, Aquaman Lost Kingdom, the Lost Kingdom it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
The Flash, and perhaps maybe even Shazam Fury of the Gods, are all taking place in a overarching Flashpoint narrative. I mean, to be honest, as stupid as DC and Warner Brothers is, I don't see this happening. But if there's a chance that this is the case, then I think that would be very dope.
Who's
But
writing the Flash movie? Who's doing it with Ezra?
Andy Muschietti, he's the
Okay.
director.
If he is a part of every other project, at least a consultant, some way, a producer, whatever it might be, I would give credence to that idea because I believe that DC has realized what they're up against with the Marvel Universe and how they need to take their stories and evolve them from a creative perspective. I'm not saying well, Warner has understood this yet. I don't believe that they really believe in their creatives within DC, but I think that DC creatives are at the level of Marvel creatives at the moment because we've seen a lot of crossover, right? James Gunn being one of them. And the success had on either side. So it's not necessarily the creative people that are there all the time that are writing a bad story. It's the people that are brought in by the studio or by Warner to say, okay, make this the right film,
Yep.
make this work for our vision. So if they can get Muschietti to actually connect everything, kind of be like Feige-esque, but not really, just kind of be like someone who kind of can put little plot points and make sure that pieces are picked up in other universes and other films, definitely a fun play. I would agree with that. I would hope it happens actually. I haven't read or been a part of anything DC in a while because it's just been so disinteresting to me because of how poor the movies have performed. It's kind of pulled me away from the universe a little bit, but it used to be what I read all the time. So it's been a while. Flashpoint would be a lot of fun with the kind of the rumor of Michael Keaton or kind of confirmation of him being back and maybe even Ben Affleck being back as Batman. We could see 3 Batman, 4 Batman, plus the 2 other iterations of people that you were mentioning. I mean, the possibilities are endless at this point. If they can connect Wonder Woman 3 and Aquaman somehow, it'd be fun to see a war between um, Amazons and Atlanteans, but I don't have much faith in DC at the moment, and I just hope that, like I just said,
Dude, we
the any property that is 2022 it is good. I'm hoping.
Landon, if our channel every once like maybe booms out and gets big, I'm for real going to make a t-shirt with the quote, "I don't trust DC at the moment." Like, you are making this a big quote on the channel right now. I
I
appreciate
mean,
this.
I won't. I will never trust them. Like, I love what the Batman's gonna look like, but I am still super skeptical of that film as a whole, and I'll see it. I might gush about it because it's the best Batman content we've got since the Dark Knight trilogy. And Batman's always going to be one of my favorite superheroes, or whatever you want to call him, hero, villain, vigilante, or whatnot. So
Mm-hmm.
like I'm all for it. I mean, you know me and my Warner problems.
I
So
know.
I'm the other thing that we should quote is Stormy, and put this on a shirt saying "Welcome to Everyday." Hi everyone, welcome to Everyday Geeks. Oh, I mean Superverse.
Oh my god, motherfucker. No, man. The next two topics are going to be rant filled, and I have a big rant on one of the two coming up. I'm going to start with the small one real quick. Last week, like, we got the trailer of DC League of Super Pets,
Hmm.
and this is not really a rant of like my view on that thing, because I mean, I'm not even going to check it out. It's made for kids, It's a kids movie. It's like a Disney movie. It's like a Pixar movie. Us adults can check it out, can love it, but it's made for kids. Now, what I want to rant about is that literally mere minutes after this trailer drops, I see freaking 30-year-old men crying on Twitter and on the YouTube comments underneath this thing that they hate this thing and that this looks cringe, and I'm like, dude, you freaking motherfucker, like, this is not made for you. How old are you? You freaking live in your mother's basement. You never
Oh,
shower. You never shower. You only cry and whine about stupid things. Why are you crying about a freaking kids movie trailer? It's clear that this movie is not being made for you. Then why are you crying about it? That's
I
basically
think it
everything that I
speaks
wanted to say
more.
about it.
It speaks more to the state of where DC fans are at right now. Like, if you really don't like Marvel
Watch out what you're
properties
going to
and
say.
you are a
Watch out what you're
DC
going to.
fan,
Watch out what you're going
you
to
are
say
gonna
right now.
struggle, right? Because, like, let's just be real. This is like some of the best potential content you're going to see over the next year and a half. And that frustrates a lot of people because it's like, why are you putting all this effort into this animated kids show with these characters that you can't even portray correctly on a live action screen? So, like, I get the frustration. I understand why they are reacting the way they're reacting. I first was like, okay, I don't think this is gonna be a good film. I'm probably gonna just check it out for funsies because I
I'm
think
not
it'll be
checking it
really
out in the
funny.
theater. I'm sorry, like, I'm not going to come up in my theater. Hey, I want one ticket for DC League of Super Pets, and then there are two guys behind the food truck who are going to watch at me like, why are you grown ass men going to watch DC League of Super Pets? Just I'm not doing it. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it.
That's fine. I mean, like I said, I probably won't go to the theater. I'll check it out at some point whenever I get the chance. I mean, I'm more interested in this to see, like, what does this even like do? Like, what, like, it's gonna be fun, right? It's a kids movie, so like it's gonna tell some story, teach you a lesson, maybe make you cry. Who knows? I like kids movies at times. They're fun, they're refreshing, and I feel like if done right, this could be
Yeah,
a
that's
fun one.
true.
It's about pets. I have a pet, so like I can connect
Moose.
to it on some
Moose.
emotional level. Um, I don't think it's the worst idea. I just think that it's a really bad look for DC right now to be doing this and pumping this out and advertising this instead of doing like anything else through their whole like list of properties that they're working on. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Alright, now I want to go into my big rant. And my big rant is about Spider-Man in the Avengers game. Um, I'm going to go over the full story about me and this Avengers game. So, when we first got the announcement that this Avengers game was happening, it was like 2017, 2018.
Mhm.
I mean, nowadays I'm not really that much of a gamer anymore. I still game a couple of games, but like I've turned more into like a movies and series guy, watching movies, all these things. I stepped away from gaming. Um, I was so happy that we were finally going to be getting an Avengers game. Um, then that game is like delayed for 2 years. Then it finally comes out, and we got the first trailers, and it looks a little lackluster. And at this time, I was still, look, it's still a trailer. They are still refining the work. They are still refining the game. It will turn out great. It's an Avengers game. It's made by Marvel, like made by
Mhm.
Square Enix. Then the game comes out, and it's rather lackluster. Now at this time, I'm still, alright. The story mode is good. They portray MODOK and Miss Marvel very good.
Mhm.
The rest of the game is still lackluster. But we are getting DLC. They promised us we are getting DLC. We are getting all these new Avengers characters over the next couple of months. They take 4 or 5 months to get to the first DLC, which was Kate Bishop and Hawkeye. 5 months after the game releases. By now the game was already dead AF. I was hating on the game because it was taking so long. So this DLC comes out, it's fun. I played it, it was fun. Then we get another half a year of nothing in the game. Then the Wakanda thing releases. And that was, again, fun little thing. But the hype was over very quickly. Now, when the game released a couple of years ago, we got the news that people on the PlayStation 4 and on the PlayStation would receive an exclusive Spider-Man DLC for this game.
Mhm.
Of course, me as a PlayStation guy, very happy about this news. Couldn't wait on it. They promised it that it was going to come soon, and that we wouldn't have to wait so long for this DLC. Now,
Mhm.
1.5 years later, we get the Spider-Man DLC. I don't know, man. Like, maybe it's just because I grew out of the hype of this game. Maybe it's just that like I got too hyped up front about this game, but like they really that first of all, this DLC doesn't have a campaign. We have nothing about a Spider-Man story in this. It's basically just Spider-Man is a new character in this game.
Playable character.
Uh
Yep. New
Playable
unlockable
character.
playable character.
His power sets, I'm sorry, but like what the fuck? Like he can web swing, but he just swings on nothing. And if he goes too high up on buildings, he just stops by an invisible wall because he can't go higher because the skybox in the game is not high enough.
All
Man,
right.
I don't know.
So
No, I'm not
I am
finished. I'm not
like,
finished. Really, I'm sorry.
oh,
I'm not finished. I'm going. You
go
can
for it.
say.
Go for it.
I'm sorry, but what has taken this game so long for the Spider-Man DLC? Because it's basically two buckets of real big shits thrown into this game with nothing. It's just Spider-Man web shooting a couple of aimbots. That's everything. There's no Spider-Man villain in this. There's no Spider-Man story in this. Nothing. What the fuck, Square Enix, have you done to one of the best IPs in the world? You get the exclusivity from Marvel to make their Avengers game, and you make a big load of shit about it. Congratulations. Perfect game you created. What is your stance on it, Landon?
I feel like this is like the epitome of everything that's wrong with the gaming industry today. The reason that this failed is because they sold it as one thing and created another. Not that they did it intentionally, not that they did it to maliciously, I guess, deceive people. It was more like the creative team had this idea in mind to do this and build this one thing, which was the Avengers game all of us wanted, which is why everyone was so excited for it. But then the brass or higher ups or whoever else you want to say got involved, and it became a mess. And that is what was provided to us, just a pile of garbage, right? Just like you said. So I agree with everything you're saying, but I also have another point about Spider-Man is, did you really expect Spider-Man to be a good add to this game? Like, I am truly sorry to have to say this to you, but there's an entire game for the PS4 and PS5 based off of that character.
I know.
So why on earth would Square Enix even attempt to compete in any way, shape, or form? Because this is their own stupid decision with an entire franchise
No, it's not.
by
It's not.
probably one of the best gaming
I'm going to be
studios.
completely honest. It's not Square Enix's fault. It's not Square Enix's fault. This is basically a move from Sony to put Spider-Man in this game to have this exclusivity for PlayStation Plus. You
Well,
know.
I agree. Again, then it's Sony's problem, right? It's not Square Enix's problem, but they did provide a really shit game. So like end of the day,
Dude,
they
this
gave
game is
everyone
beyond
what they
shit.
didn't want, and then sold it to us as what we wanted, and then sold us on timelines and things that they knew were not possible. And this is why I said this is everything's wrong with the gaming industry today, at least with AAA games, is there's this expectation that because of technology and capability, there is live service for these games, right? Animal Crossings gets a DLC. Super Smash Bros. Gets a DLC. Um, Mario Golf gets a DLC, right? Um, Halo gets a DLC. All the stuff, right? The expectation is that there's new stuff added to these games as we buy them, and the AAA industry has been significantly behind that. And the
Yep.
reason that mobile games and other games are becoming so much more popular, and this Fortnite style game is becoming so much popular, is because they don't have to have the best graphics anymore. They don't have to have all these other things. But if you are very forward with what you are attempting to do, what the game is, and why you play it, then I think you're more successful. And I know there's a lot of gotcha games out there. I know there's a lot of what some people might call triple B mobile games. It's sad that this is where gaming has gone, and it's gone to skins and changing appearances and fun guns and sound effects and dances that you can buy, as opposed to a storyline or an extra piece of the game, right? Or like an extra side quest or something along those lines. And I feel like that's where a lot of this goes bad, is we have the expectation that these games are live service games and that they are supposed to be something that evolve with time. But they keep pumping these games out and they're looking for more ways to monetize, and they can't re-monetize something that they did poorly already. So they're just pushing shit into
Yep.
a dumpster, lighting it on fire, hoping somebody jumps in it, and going on with their life. And I think that's what this Spider-Man's ad to Avengers is.
Look,
It's like
I.
it's like Smash adding a new character and expecting you to pay $60 for it.
Yeah, but
That's
here's the
literally
thing.
what it is.
Here's the thing. Smash adding a new character. Every Smash character getting added into Smash brought major hype for the game back again, and
I
people
agree.
actually paid for that shit.
I'm
This
just
is
referencing all it is a character add. There is nothing else. It is like Smash adding a character because you don't get anything other than, ooh, I can play as Spider-Man now.
true. Look, this game is like, in my opinion, the worst game ever. Like, to me personally, it's the worst game ever. I you know what this game is? This game is the same thing as a guy waking up in the morning after getting really drunk last night. He's hella sick, man, and he's waking up and he feels he has to puke, and he runs to the toilet, and he doesn't get to the toilet, and he picks up a bucket and he pukes in the bucket, and then he thinks like, oh shit, I have this diarrhea in my ass, and he shits in the bucket, and that's like a combination of shit and puke, and that's the Avengers game with Spider-Man in it. That's everything it is.
Now, I do have to say, there's been proof these
By the
games can be
way,
done right.
really quick, Landon, sorry. This podcast is not for kids. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Landon.
So I can agree that games like this can be done well. Just look at the recent Guardians of the Galaxy game. That game has
That's perfect.
immaculate story, wonderful visuals, and the team you expect to be there, interacting in the way that you would expect them to interact, and telling a fun new story. So, all wins. The reason that has been so successful is because of how they approached it. They didn't want to change everything and force you to do this, right? It just like the Avengers game, it's like we'll give you the open world and we'll give you the Guardians to go play in it. And
Here's the difference.
it's
Oh,
it's a
go ahead. Sorry.
difference in these game studios and how they approach things and who backs them and kind of the overarching idea behind it. Because I'm not going to bash on creatives. Creatives probably or drive a lot of what we see. The problem becomes when we try to monetize and find a way to make money within these games outside of just building the best game you can and then trusting that people will buy it when you sell it, right? And having it accessible on all platforms.
The
So it's getting away from this idea that if you don't monetize, you won't make any money. It's not that at all. You're going to make money. It's sell us the product we expect, and
mm-hmm.
you are marketing to us so that when we buy it, we don't need or feel an expectation of more content because you under delivered on the initial content you provided. That shouldn't be how it works. I shouldn't pay $60 for a game that feels like a $20 game
True.
and then continue to have to pay $20 to get more added to the game. You should sell me a $60 or $70 game that has literally tens to 20 hours worth of game content in it already. And then if you feel the need to be a live service game studio, then you can live service it free to the players because you just made a crap ton of money because you sold us a game that exceeded our expectations. It's not hard to do. It's why Nintendo can get away with having literally the crappiest graphics for the last 20 years and barely upgrading some of its systems and doing the almost bare minimum, some might say, and yet still outsells PS5 and
Yep.
Xbox constantly. It's
True.
why they have some of the most popular brands in gaming overall. It's because they get with the story, they develop the story for the person who's going to actually play it, not for a way to make money, not for a way to do this, that, and the other thing. And yes, a lot of what they're doing right now is reskins for nostalgia's sake, but it's also an ingenious plan because they don't have to make up any new things. They don't have to find this new creative storyline. They can literally take the plot that they built 20 years ago, upgrade its graphics, and shove it into a game, and they will make millions of dollars. So, like, until Sony and Microsoft understand this, and Microsoft's getting real close because Halo Infinite, I heard, is like
I heard it's
top
a good
notch.
game.
So until Sony understands this, they're going to continue to only be able to turn out Spider-Man related content because of the popularity of that property, and that's all you're going to get from them. They're going to take advantage of it, and they're going to give you crap for the rest of it. They
Yep.
were close with Ratchet and Clank. They were close with a couple other properties a while back. Metal Gear Solid's always been kind of hit or miss with them. If they would just take the time and let these studios really develop the game that they want to develop and just say, cool, tell me when it's going to be done, and that's when I'll start to market it and sell it. Like, we didn't need to know in 2017 about this Avengers game. We just didn't. End of story. We did not need to know about it. We shouldn't have known about it until 2020 when they released footage online because of all the Comic Con stuff and everything else that was happening digitally compared to in person.
The
That is what should
problem
have happened.
the problem with the Avengers news that came out at that time, look, that was 2017, and that was at a time when Overwatch was very popular. It was the first game that really had like superheroes in it, the first good superhero game, like besides like some Batman games. So this news comes out, and then we get the first news about it, that it will be like some kind of Overwatch type of game, where you will be able to battle with these Avengers and Marvel characters. And then the trailer comes out and the game and it's an RPG, and that's not what we wanted.
It's not what they sold you, right?
True.
And that's what I'm pointing out. They're telling you it's going to be one thing, and the creatives are working on something completely different, right? Or the creatives have this idea that say this is what we want to build, and then somebody else comes in and says, no, this is how we are marketing it. This is what you have to go build, right? Because then you have a disconnect between the people actually building the game and those that are then trying to sell it. And if you piss off the people that are trying to build the game, you end up with a poorly coded spaghetti mess of a game that you then have to publish, just like they did with Avengers, and it gets the backlash it gets because they didn't test it and didn't care about it when they released it, because you cut the dev team. You killed the dev team by doing what you did in a marketing standpoint, and you didn't even give them an opportunity to build what they wanted to build, right? When you have the creative freedom, like the Spider-Man games,
Yep.
you get great games. When you don't have creative freedom and you just are, when the marketing team determines what you are building, the dev's heart isn't in it, so they don't care what they build. They're like, whatever, I don't, it doesn't matter to me. I'm getting a paycheck
yeah,
either way.
let's go into the last topic of the day. And because we're talking about Sony right now, we can just head into another Sony topic. I mean, this topic will lead into another rant, man. Look, Venom Let There Be Carnage was a okay movie. The first Venom movie was a okay movie. The Spider-Man MCU movies, yeah. The two Spider-Man movies that was like combined, like Marvel Studios and Sony, are great movies. And Morbius, we still don't know how that movie will turn out. I like that Sony is making movies about these Spider-Man characters, and I really like that they are doing this. But like, we have gotten news that they are working on a character called like Warwolf, that they are working on a character like Solo, really obscure characters. And to be honest, like, even though they are obscure, they are interesting characters. But now we get the news that Sony is developing a Sandman and a Rhino movie. Now I'm going to be completely honest. There are some Spider-Man villains that have the capabilities to have a movie involve about them. Venom, Norman Osborn, Doctor Octopus, Electro to a certain extent. I'm sorry, but Sandman and Rhino aren't those characters. You could make an argument with Sandman's backstory with his sick daughter and things like that. But what are you going to do with a Rhino movie? Rhino is basically a character who mutates into a big, dumb Rhino human hybrid and just does like stupid things like this. I'm searching for Spider-Man! Oh! That's basically everything he does. And you're going to make a movie about him. Sony, what the fuck?
Yeah, man. Sony, I'm like lost right now. I'm gonna say something I just said the other week about Echo and getting an Echo series ahead of kind of being introduced to the character. Can we like meet these characters before you start, building movies around them? Unless they're gonna be origin stories with new castings, you have these characters already. So like, why a movie now? Like, what is so special about Sandman that you're going to do something vastly different than the story you set up in Spider-Man 3? What is so different about Rhino that you're going to do something different than what you saw in the Amazing Spider-Man? I believe it was 2, which Rhino appeared in
Yep.
as Paul Giamatti. So, like, why? Just why? Make me like these characters again. Show me that you can actually do these characters right before you ever give me a standalone film for Rhino or Sandman. Come on. If you're really setting up a Sinister Six, where the flip is that project?
True.
You continue to talk about, you spew in interviews, Sinister Six. We want a Sinister Six. We like Sinister Six. You don't need a movie for every villain in the Sinister Six and then a Sinister Six film. You can tell a few of their origin stories in a film because, to your point, they don't stand up for a film themselves. And that film is going to flop massively. I mean, here's something that I'm very intrigued by, and I think that this is coming down the road, and I am very concerned about it. But this is, I think, where we're going. Sony's going to lose the Spider-Man property. They just are. Sony as a company as a whole is already frustrated with the entertainment side of their company, stating that Spider-Man is not as profitable as most people think it is. They spend millions and millions and billions of dollars just to maintain some of the stuff that they've already done,
And that's
right?
fun
And then
because
they
Spider-Man is the
continue
only thing
to
keeping them
build.
afloat.
Exactly. And it's literally about to and then they're working on all these projects. And it's literally about to start opening these floodgates of content that they are like ill prepared to build. I don't think they understand what they really have, how to best use it, and what it's capable of. I think that when they bought Spider-Man back in the day, they were just like, cool, we just want the most popular comic book character out there because we want to have the rights to his films or have people pay us to make his films.
Yup.
Okay, cool. But in that time frame, you've made technically 5 of your own Spider-Man films, and about 2 of them were roughly okay,
Shit.
80% or higher. 5, and 2 of them 80% or higher. And then you partner with Marvel, who does these great movies, right? These fantastic films. And then Sony continues to flop elsewhere. Venom, iffy, right?
Yeah,
I
but here's
liked it
the
because I like
Landon.
that character.
I know, but here's the thing. The movies aren't good, but they make money. You can't forget the first Venom
I
movie
I won't.
made almost
I
nine
won't.
hundred million dollars at the box office.
I
That money
agree. Tell
talks.
me how much money The Amazing Spider-Man 2 made and what its budget was. Tell me how much money The Amazing Spider-Man made and what its budget was. Because I don't believe either of those films were great, and I don't believe either of them were very profitable. And I don't think that any of the Raimi, except for 2, were profitable. 1
True.
opened the door for everybody else, and I just don't see how Sony is going to continue to do this to these properties and expect us to just be okay with it. I mean, if this is a true property, there's no way I'm watching this film.
Yeah.
None. I barely want to see Morbius at this point because I am very frustrated with Sony's whole premise that because they own Spider-Man, we will continue to watch them play around with other C, D grade villains that just don't matter.
But yeah, but here's the different like you say, like Venom and Morbius and Norman Osborn are interesting characters that can
Dude,
take.
Morbius is a C level at best
But see,
character. He
yeah,
is
he's a
Iron Man level, and he is not going to get the Iron Man treatment. So do not tell me that his film is going to hold up. I just don't believe it at this point. Am I going to watch it? Probably. Am I going to be disappointed by it? More than likely. Is it going to be something that Sony continues to use and play off of in the future? Of course it is.
yeah, but
I'm being very cynical at the moment because they have only proven that they can do something good with Venom at this point, and the second iteration was bad. It was fun. I gave it a 7.5. Told multiple people not to go see it because I knew they wouldn't like it.
true.
It
Yeah,
was a movie for comic book fans. That was it. It was not a movie for anyone else. And they are at a very dangerous point right now where if they flop on another film, I don't know if they will have the backing from the rest of Sony to say, yes, we're keeping the Spider Man brand.
mm-hmm.
And Morbius is the reason they've been pushing it. I think it's because it's that film, that backbreaking film for them.
Uh,
I think of Spider-Man No Way Home, they expect to be great. They expect to make money, and they will. It's Morbius that if that flops, I do not know if Sony keeps Spider-Man.
it's funny because like a couple of weeks ago on the first podcast we talked about the Morbius trailer, and like to be honest, like watching this trailer, I don't see this movie being bad. Morbius. I can see it being like an okay movie, but I just can't see it being bad. Like the trailer was so good. Jared Leto is such a great actor.
Okay, here's the
Oh,
problem with Sony movies, though. They give away 80% of the film
yeah, that's true.
and the huge plot points in the trailer to make the trailers good, right? Like, trailers are always going to be able to be good because you can take any part of the movie and mash it together with another. And Sony's great at that. They've proven it. But it's the film that has to back it up, not the trailer that proves the film. It's the film that proves the
Yeah,
trailer.
that's true. Oh man.
Again, I'm being really cynical because like the closer I get and the closer I get to the Spider-Man film, the closer I get to the Morbius film, I am very concerned about what's happening and where Sony's trying to take some of this. If they announced, casting for Craven and that they were working on a Sinister Six project formally and maybe looking into bringing a Miles Morales live action, we'd be having a completely different conversation. But the fact that they are trying to build villains right now in this universe that is already going to be filled with 4 or 5 or 6 of them here shortly, I don't know what they're thinking. It makes no sense at
True.
all. The rationale and logic of these decisions is negative.
Yeah,
Doesn't
again,
have any standing.
there are a couple of like Spider-Man characters that are able to carry a movie. I'm talking and
Okay, why build a live action Sandman? Why put money into that when you know Miles Morales
see,
is what people want?
that's
Go
why,
build a
like,
Miles Morales
dude,
film.
like Miles
Craven the Hunter.
Morales,
We know it's
Craven the
happening. We're
Hunter,
aware
but
of
like
it. We
even
know the property's happening.
more
Give us
characters.
casting.
Like,
Give us
here's
more information.
I'm going to give a couple of other ones: Black Cat, Silk, Silk to an extent. Uh,
We know they're working on a Madam Web movie.
Madam Web is another one that I'm like, why is this movie being made? Come on.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. That one I'm okay with. And I say that simply because if they're going to open the multiverse,
I'm
she
sorry,
has
but
a piece of that.
I'm going to be completely honest right now. If you're telling on this podcast Morbius is a C-list character and is not going to get the treatment that he deserves,
Mhm.
you can say to be honest, you can't say that you're hyped for Madam Web. I'm sorry, like Madam Web is like Z-list.
I'm more interested in how that property connects than how I am getting another Spider-Man villain introduced into a universe that doesn't connect to any other Spider-Man.
But yeah, but Morbius like has ties to other things, you know.
I know he has ties to other things, but is Morbius in the MCU?
Yeah, no, he isn't. But
So he's not going to touch Blade. He's not going to touch any of the other fun stuff that's coming, any of the supernatural stuff that's coming on Marvel's side.
yeah, but
Sony
Disney,
doesn't have the rights to, and they made it very
but
clear that they
Landon,
don't want anything to do with it. So why are they building
yeah,
all these
but
properties out and doing all this stuff? It doesn't make a lot of sense unless they're going to try to pull Spider-Man back into their universe and stop working with Marvel, which is going to confuse the living crap out of most people. And then everyone's going to hate Sony for doing it and just be extremely skeptical of all their properties moving forward. I'm just saying they have to tread very lightly at this moment because as they move towards the last of the Sony MCU Spider-Man films that have been announced and confirmed that they're working on the same project, as well as a Morbius standalone villain film that is poised to flop because it's been moved more times than any other film that I can think of.
yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
technically, we should have already seen Morbius. We should have seen Morbius back in October.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that it's in January makes zero sense.
Yeah, and Landon, you know another thing, like it looks like Disney and Sony are really having good sex right now. Like they're working together. Like, and you could make the point of like maybe there's a chance that Morbius crosses over into the MCU with Blade and characters like that. But then
Yeah,
again,
I'm harping on
I
this
don't know,
cynically,
and I
right?
think
Saying
this
like
is
I'm going to be wrong, expecting to be wrong,
no,
expecting in
you're not
like a
going to
month
be wrong.
to be
You're going to be
freaking out
right.
about
No,
Morbius
you're going
and
to
how
be
excited
right.
I am for it.
You're going to be right because here's the thing. I don't know if you because like you're someone who doesn't really like leaks, and
Mm-mm.
I'm not going to talk about it over here. But there's something about like a certain character in Spider-Man No Way Home in a post-credit scene that many people, to be honest, are not going to like, me included. Like if this is actually the case, and this is for real, the post-credit scene. I'm sorry, but I'm never watching a Sony Spider-Man movie again. I'm sorry, but if they do that, they broke my heart. And that's where I'm going
I'm
to end it
telling
off
you,
right
man.
now.
I am telling you, Sony is on like that really fine line with this right now,
They are on a
and
suicide mission.
they are like they are 3 months away from potentially being in the worst position they have been in with Spider-Man since Spider-Man 3. with Tobey Maguire.
Yep.
And that's off of the most hype Spider-Man film ever, ever in the history of Spider-Man films. And then another film in the Spider-Man universe.
Yep. Oh man.
It's just a mess.
I think we are both very heated right now, so maybe it's a good chance to like just quit today's podcast right here. All
One thing I
right.
will have to say is like I'm still excited, right? Like there's a lot of properties coming. There's a lot happening. We're gonna see some more Hawkeye. We're gonna get Spider-Man, No Way Home. We're gonna get some more properties in 2022. I'm I'm just coming at this with a very kind of interesting thought process because there's a lot of news and things cycle through quite often. And something that you don't hear a lot about right now is Morbius. And the more we hear about Spider-Man No Way Home, the more I get concerned for Morbius. Because Spider-Man No Way Home could still be in theaters when Morbius hits theaters.
Yep.
And I don't see people picking Morbius over Spider-Man No Way Home if they haven't already seen it. I just think there's a potential downfall for not only cannibalization of their own films, people not understanding the basis for the Morbius film itself, and then Jared Leto is a very controversial actor. I like him in some roles, I hate him in others. He is one of those people that is just divisive across the board.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what role he's in, and he is that him having his own film, let alone a Morbius film. It just I I've said it here once. I'll say it continuously. I'm skeptical at the moment. I'm very concerned and being very cynical today because of it, because I don't have a good feeling about it right now. I just don't.
Landon, I like your thoughts on this thing, but we are going to end the podcast right here, man. Again, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this latest episode of the Superverse Podcast. I hope you subscribe to the channel, like this podcast. Let us know in the reactions what you thought about some of the topics that we talked about today. Follow us on Twitter at the Superverse, at Geeks Everyday, and follow Landon on Twitter and on Twitch. Boulder Doobies is his Twitch channel called. Very good streamer on there in my opinion. Does a lot of Jackbox and Lego streams. So definitely check him out. Alright guys, with that, I'm going to end the podcast here, and I hope you see you on the next one. Have a great day, guys.
Bye for now.